All right, welcome back to the Nothing is Wrong podcast. Today, I am joined by Azul
Hello.
Corajoria. Is that right?
Wow. Yeah, close enough.
All right, well, give me the real one.
Well, that's the non-accent way of saying
Oh,
it, so
right.
it's perfect.
Cool.
Technically, my name's not even Azul; it's Azul. So
Azul.
if you were gonna say my name quote unquote correctly, it would be Azul Corajoria.
Oh,
But
nice. I'm not even going to
in
try that,
in
but I love
English
it.
terms, it's Azul Corajoria. So you did
Okay,
it perfectly.
nice, nice. Yeah, my Mal always makes fun of me so much. Like when we were in France, like I just pronounce like the French words just so English. And I was like, we were in like I was saying Pont Cardenet, and it's like some
What is it?
French. She was
Oh, I
just
don't. I
laughing
can't
at my
even try.
pronunciation. Yeah, I have no idea. I was like, well, what do you want me to do? Like act like I have a French accent? Like I don't know. But
Which is funny because I speak Spanish. I would go and I'd get like the first couple words, the accent perfectly, but then the problem is that people think you speak it and then they just go off and you're sitting there and you have to be like, should I
smiling
tell
and
this person
nodding.
that I actually don't know any
Yeah,
French?
just smile and nod. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
Um.
goodness.
Well. Uh. Do you want to just give a little
Riff.
introduction of who you are? Put yourself
Um,
in a box in a way.
I put myself in a box. Well, I'm wondering like, should I do this because it's like a podcast about self-improvement and like nothing is wrong. I'm almost wondering if I should like say who I am personally instead of like, okay, I'm a certified health coach and personal trainer, blah blah blah. But I almost want to like make it different and be like, "Oh, who are you as a person?" because right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm overthinking this
I'm just
now.
like no, because like yeah, it's funny because it's like oh, I'm not any of this. Like is a and it's just like
Yeah.
okay, well like
So
you
who am I? Who are
yeah,
you at the root
right.
of everything?
Right. Well, so and we work together at DataFit.
Hmm.
And so I mean, yeah, just like if this was a health and fitness podcast, how would you introduce yourself?
Hmm. Okay. I am a health and, well, certified health coach and personal trainer. I've been doing that for, I actually just looked it up. And it was like 9+ years, which is crazy. Yeah. Where does the time go? But my key phrase recently has been self-care without the self-hate. And I basically help women, as you can tell, I change this all the time. I help women find the fun in taking care of themselves. So, like, my whole thing is like, I just want us to get to a point where we start seeing, you know, eating well and balanced and working out and getting our daily steps in and drinking water, all these things that generally seem like they're tasks or like chores that you have to check off. I want to get to a point where we see these things as like things that we do for us to take care of us as opposed to things that we're doing because we have to or because we're punishing ourselves or because we want to lose weight or any of those things. So like really getting back to like these things are acts of self-care and we do self-care because we care about ourselves. So there's an aspect of self-love in that, self-respect in that. And as you know, it all starts in the mind. And so, yeah, a lot of what I focus on is like the mindset, psychological piece of it all.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's really just transitioning from doing a bunch of health stuff for some future outcome to like, no, no, no. How can I enjoy myself and my life today and not put it off into the future? Which, you know, so so many of these concepts, it's like it's so simple and like so obvious, but it's so hard to put into practice in a way.
Well, I think a lot of it is also just being on social media all of the time. It's very convoluted. There's a lot of different people saying different things. And so it's hard to understand what to do. And I think especially as, like we work mainly with women, there's always just a pressure to look a certain way. Like women, historically, our value has been our looks, what we look like. And so I think there's a lot of pressure, societal, but also a lot of pressure we, put on ourselves to continue to look a certain way because that's our perceived value of self. So like it's hard. And how do you do that? It's by controlling what you eat, by controlling how much you work out, how all those things. So, I mean, it's complicated. And I something I just thought about was so my like I used to have like I had binge eating tendencies disorder. I like during college would work out 2 hours a day every single day. I thought I had some body dysmorphia, awful relationship with self and food, and like just used food and exercise as these like control variables to make sure that I was just as thin as possible, and not like for any health purposes whatsoever, even though that's what I would try and disguise it behind, and so my journey is like I used to use tools like food tracking, like MyFitnessPal, to again control and just to make sure I ate as little as possible. Like there was no like, oh, am I getting enough like protein, carbs, and fat? Like, am I eating enough throughout the day? What are my patterns or anything like that? I was literally just using it as a tool to eat as little as possible. And so then I gained like tendencies like obsession over numbers. Every food was just a number. There was no nutrition component about it. It was just numbers. And it was a game to get as little numbers as possible while like not starving. So there was that, and then I got anxiety about eating out because then I couldn't track. So if I couldn't track, then like how did I know? So there's a lot of obsessiveness and anxious tendencies with all of that. And so then in my healing journey, I almost like swung far left to the intuitive eating side, where it was like, okay, no tracking, it's like the devil's work, like all this stuff. And this is not me saying anything bad about like intuitive eating healed my relationship with food. Like there's so many good things that came out of intuitive eating. But I recognize, and I think this is something that I think it's like weird. I'm like trying to be humble about it, but like I think one of the things that makes me a really good coach is that like I'm able to like, I'm always like trying to learn. And so I recognize when I've done something wrong, or like I can say I was wrong. Like I have no like, oh, I did this diet and like tried to promote it for a year. Oh no, that was wrong. That was wrong. I don't need to like hold on to that for some like ego reason or anything like that. So I did intuitive eating, and that was like kind of what I pushed for a long time. So much so that like people that I had as clients at the time were like, they probably could have tracked and been totally fine. It would have been a great tool for them to have. I was so anti-tracking because of my experience that I was like, no, you can't, like blah, 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 like intuitive eating's the way or whatever. And so now it's nice because I'm like in this in between of like, I see both sides. I see why all these different tools and all these different methods can work for some people, don't work for other people. It's nice to have like a toolbox of all these things. But for myself, I recently started tracking again. One, because I'm like playing around with the app and like, doing all that kind of stuff. But two, I had an interesting moment where I was like, oh, like I'm tracking again and I don't feel any obsession. I'm not super anxious about it. I am doing this as hey, I'm actually trying to eat 2,100 calories right now. I'm trying to get 125 to 130 grams of like, it's almost like I'm doing this to make sure I'm having enough, to make sure I'm eating enough of the right things and that I'm having enough. It's just such a different mindset from when I used to track years ago. Like where it was like, I didn't care about nutrition and it was just a tool to get as little numbers. And now it's like a tool to be like, okay, like how can I make sure that I'm like having enough protein? And like also the goal isn't to track for forever. Like tracking is a tool that helps you understand what a serving of protein looks like and what, X, Y, and Z looks like. And so it just kind of took me back to, it is literally all fucking mindset. Like it is all relationship to self. And that's the biggest change between how I used to track versus like me experimenting with tracking now, is like, I'm doing it because I truly want to make sure that I'm getting everything that I need, because I care about my body. I care about living a long, healthy, happy life. I know I have to build muscle right now. I know this also isn't a fitness podcast, so like I'm gonna wrap this up now. But it's truly, it was just such an interesting, like, oh right, again, it is all mindset, and it is all coming, like, where are my goals or my intentions coming from? Is it a good place of like wanting to take care of myself and truly caring about my body and my muscles and my brain and my life? Or is it like, me trying to shrink, fearing food, fearing, fearing gaining muscle, fearing gaining fat, all this kind of stuff. So I have no idea how we got into that.
Love it. I mean, as you were talking about it, like that word, and you ended up saying it, I was just thinking about intention, like what is your intention with it? And that's so much of the battle, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. For me, I notice because I have a very similar background with the nutrition side. Like it was all as a means to an end. And yeah, there was kind of like I'm doing this because I care about my health, but it was more of just like, I don't feel like enough. And if I look a certain way, that'll make me happy and all the things. And it led to obsession, and it led to like a constant just pursuing unrealistic goals and all or nothing. And I've noticed, like, in the past 5 years, I almost just took that and then was applying it to, like, alcohol. Like, there was a time I just cut alcohol out for, like, 8 months. And then, like, I realized I was kind of doing the same thing, where it was, like, then it was just this ego, like, badge of honor that I hadn't taken a sip of alcohol. And then I went through a phase where it was, like, I added it back in, but then I was going, like, way to the, never really like on a day-to-day basis, but for me in the past, it was always like, weddings, like events. I would drink more than I wanted to. Mm-hmm. And then and it's just so funny how like we can see it in one area of our lives, and then it's so sneaky how it just comes right back in. And like the whole food and nutrition and health side, I think when it leads to the mindset, what's so cool about the work we do is that it applies to everywhere in your life, like your relationship to everything. I am curious, like, to what extent do you think, because at least for me, that stage, I did kind of like get there in a way externally of what I wanted to look like. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a big part of being able to eventually break free of it. I don't know if it was or not, but how do you think about that element of like, because, some people, I mean, I was probably told that on the way there. It's like, this isn't going to make you happy. And you're just like, yeah, but it's going to make me happy. Like, I know that for you. Or like, how do you think about that balance between like pursuing the goal and getting there to find out versus working on this stuff alongside your path to a goal?
Yeah. So many things come to mind, and they're all honestly kind of conflicting. So the first thing that comes to mind is like, one, when we talk about like goals or like hitting your goal or whatever with our clients, right, is sometimes like, how realistic is it? Like, what are you chasing exactly, right? Because, like we work with a lot of females, and generally when you come in, there's like a golden number a lot of women have. Like, I want to be around 120. Like something, it's kind of with the same thing with like 1,200 calories, like, or 1,500 calories. Like there's a 120 for whatever reason, which for most of us was high school, if even, like, but there's just that golden number. And then, obviously you have to have the conversation about like body composition, and like you could be 130, people could be 130 and look completely different because like you have all muscle versus all fat. So I think, and I want to address that because I think my response could be taken one of two ways. But I think there is something to be said about like having a goal and hitting it. Absolutely. Right. Like, and whether that's a body goal or, I mean, we're talking about outcome goals, but like we haven't even addressed like action goal, like working out 3 times a week. Like that's a goal that you can hit. Right. Like, so outcome goals are just tricky because, as you know, let's say someone comes to us and they're like, I want to be 120 and they're 150. And you're like, hopefully, given every female is different, but I want to be so delicate with it. I think there's something to be said about being able to hit a goal. I think it's a slippery slope because sometimes we hit it, and whereas you, like, it sounds like you hit it and then you're like, great, I hit it, I'm okay with going back to the way things were. I think when it comes to like weight, that's not the case. I think that's when you get into the slippery slope of like, okay, 5 more, like 5 more pounds, or now I want to look like this, or whatever. I think there's absolutely something to be said about like confidence being linked to doing what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
But you can get that. At the end of the day, you can't always control the outcome, but you can control like what you do. Right? And so, how am I trying to say this? Yeah, I'm getting stuck with how I want to say this because there's the outcome component. And I know a lot of people watching this are probably people that want to lose weight. So I don't want to be like, yeah, you can hit your goal once and then you'll always be happy, just because like this is generally not the case.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, part of what you were saying there is just like, okay, well, are we putting all our eggs in one basket, right? Like, are we looking at more than just our an outcome goal versus a process goal?
Yeah. Or also, pride being linked to an outcome versus pride being linked to the things that you're doing that are within your control to achieve the outcome, right? Like, because as we know, there are a lot of factors into play that might mean that like you never actually hit X goal of yours, right? But does that mean you still can't be proud if like you've done everything within your within what you can control? Can you not be proud of that? Does it have to wait until you hit X? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, and I mean, even as you were kind of talking through it, and like, I almost, even in asking that question, implied that these things are separate. That like that acknowledging yourself and connecting with yourself. In my experience, at that time in my life, I went after goals without internal connection and acknowledging myself and all those things. And this is actually where it's funny because every woman that joins our program, I'm like, no, let's do both. It's one conversation. If you're already at a pretty healthy body weight, and it's going to be really unrealistic, and it's going to take you away from your family and your hobbies, and it's going to be detrimental.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's like, yeah, hell yeah, you want to look better. Like, that's okay. Can we pair that with, can we do it in a different way? I think that's what kind of ties. And yeah, okay, I'm going to bring this back around to not go full fitness mode. Or we just cross post this to the Fit and Free podcast. But
Well, I actually, yeah, no, I guess it's fitness related. Well, no, because this ties into the business side too, right? Because like a
Yeah.
lot of the tendencies that I noticed I had in my eating disorder and all that kind of stuff, like you said, crossed over to alcohol. For me, crossed over to business.
Mm.
So like in terms of like self-worth and confidence, and I think, going back to a question I was going to offer, like I was going to ask was like, okay, well, I think sometimes the question is like, who did you have to become, and what did you have to do to get to X goal? Like, are you actually proud of the fact that you hit X goal, or are you proud of the fact that like you were able to do the things that then made you hit that goal, right? And so like I think about like business too, even where it's like, if at the end of the day, actually, let me take this another way. So I, living in LA, am surrounded by people that have like really nice cars and really big houses and stuff. Like at the age of 20, like, you know, circumstantial, just like came into a lot of money, whatever that might be, right? And I think about like all the times that I was like, able to buy a nice car or able to have like a nice thing. And I think about how different it would have been if I had just like been given certain things versus had to earn certain things. And I sometimes there's like a little bit of like envy and jealousy for people that have things that I don't, right? And then at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, but I get to look forward to like eventually getting that thing and knowing full-heartedly that like I did the things to then get the thing. And so like it's less about getting the thing and it's more like I did that. Like I controlled the controllables, and that's ultimately what I'm really proud of, because like if I was just given, said thing, I don't think, and maybe this is a me thing, I don't know how happy I would be about it because I didn't earn it. Like I'm not the person that, like earned it. I don't,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, yeah. I think that okay, I think this is a here's how I'm kind of picturing this. Like, okay. eh, Well, first and foremost, I think we're both aligned in that like I kind of view life in general, especially fitness, but also anything else, and honestly, kind of anything anyone ever does, as ultimately a path to loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the goal, right? Like real
Or I'm gonna I'm gonna
yeah.
reframe.
Yeah.
What if it's not a path to loving your? What if it's just practicing loving yourself? Like,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
because then again, it seems like an outcome goal versus
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this is shit you have to practice all the
Yeah.
time. You know,
Right.
like you don't just all of a sudden love yourself because you hit X weight or you make X money or you have to practice this shit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
kind of like you're in a relationship with like your partner where you're like, I don't always like you, but like I love you. Or like, hey,
Yeah.
I don't even love you right now because I hate you actually. But like
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to show you respect, right? Because like that's just what you do. Like kind of the same for the body. And I think that took me a really long time to like understand and learn, was that like I'm not one day just going to wake up and be like I love myself no matter what, and like
Right.
I X, Y, and Z. I just had to do it. Like I like love is not like an outcome, it's a daily action, a daily practice. And so like you said that and I was like, whoops, I'm going to stop you right there because I know that's
Yeah.
not actually what you think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and that honestly, I think ties to because as I think, okay, so if we term it spending a higher percentage of your day acknowledging or allowing like that less of a gauntlet with yourself every day, like
Mm-hmm.
a more enjoyable relationship with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or feeling enough or whatever it is. And yes, 100% I agree that it's not you don't go achieve it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. So if that's like where, and once again, words are so hard because it's like where we want to get to. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
maybe in 30 years I'll love myself. It's like moment by moment, yes.
Yeah.
However, as I look at like where I was 15 years ago, there was a lot of the actions I was taking in my life were just an unconscious attempt at compensating for feeling a lack of worth or enoughness, whatever it may be. And I think like there's a weird middle ground. And once again, I'm putting it out as an outcome. And okay, yeah, all that aside.
You're fine.
But at first, it's like you're not even thinking about why you're doing the things you're doing. You're just like, oh, I was past this. I want that body. Like I was past this from life, caregivers, society, peers, whatever it is. And it's like, whether it's money or people laughing at your jokes or looking good or having a specific body, there's this, my life starts when, or I will be worthy when. And you're not like saying it out loud, but it's there. And it's kind of an unconscious agreement that your life will be better when this thing is there. Well, I feel like then beyond that, it's like what you were talking about, where it's, hey, can we practice acknowledging ourselves for showing up regardless of outcomes, right? Like, once again, a practice, right? Because we see people on the health and fitness side that they're like, I can't stick with anything. And the first thing I say is, how old are your kids? Oh, they're 15. I'm like, so you haven't quit being a mom in 15 years, have you? Like, and they're like, well, no, of course not. I'm like, okay, so you don't just give up on it, just to show them like, you're just looking at the evidence that you didn't follow through in this area of your life. And there's a lot of things you do follow through with. So that's like that middle ground of like, I don't know, a healthy self-esteem, a healthy ego structure of like really acknowledging yourself for the things you're doing. Like I show up for myself, but then there's this twist on it where it's like, but if I don't show up one day, I still love me, or I practice that self-love and give myself, like, that's where I think for me, it was it's a weird dynamic, because it's like, I do want to build this self-belief, but I also don't want it to be tied so that if I fail or don't do the thing that I wanted to do that is in my control, like you said, I still want to love myself in those moments too. So I don't know. I'm just talking, but I'm just like thinking about kind of the path that, at least that I've been through, where it's like that self-acknowledgement is kind of it became another way for me to be like, well, yeah, once you show up for yourself over time, then you'll really see. And then it was just another outcome. So, and I think that's all of these. What's the intention behind it? But I'm going to stop talking.
Well, I think, okay, I know you like to get very meta, so we can get very meta with this, right? A couple different things come to mind. Is one, I have this client, we're talking about self-love, and there's the talks of like, okay, well, I'll be happy when I hit this goal weight. When I graduate from X, when I hit whatever. And they have a child, and this is very easy to do when you have a kid. And I was like, okay, well, like, why do you love, let's call them Todd. Why do you love Todd? And they're like, oh, well, I love Todd because, he's my son. I was like, okay, so if he wasn't your son, you wouldn't love Todd. And they're like, no, well, like, I love Todd because, I don't know, they started listing like personality traits, right? They're compassionate and they're kind and they're funny. And I was like, okay, so you're saying if your child was not funny or compassionate or kind, like, you wouldn't love them. And they'd be like, no. And I was like, okay, so like, why do you love Todd? And it was like this hard question to answer, but you love Todd just because you love Todd. Like at the end of the day, most people that have kids know this, like, your kid could end up, hopefully not, but like becoming a drug addict and like horrible and like killing someone and whatever, and you would still love them.
Right.
Right. And so like, love is not like true love is not necessarily conditional, right? And so that's the reframe or like the thought that I asked people to kind of sit with was like, okay, well then why is your love to yourself conditional? Of, okay, well, if I get this job or if I make this amount of money or if I'm this body weight or if I blah, blah, blah. Hey, on the days where I feel like a shitty person, I don't love myself. Like, hey, on the days that that's conditional love, right? Versus unconditional love or just what love is supposed to be, period. And again, it's really easy to do that like when you have a child because that is like one of the only instances where you do truly feel this like unconditional, sometimes with parents or with siblings, right? As well. I'd say sometimes that's awful, but like it is what it is. But you like, so kind of reflecting that onto yourself. So it's like, yeah, I was in Italy for 30 something days. Ask me how many times I worked out.
0.
I got one run in.
Oh, it's better than I would have done.
I got one run in. And mind you, I was a little more settled with it because we're walking 20 plus thousand steps a day. But still, I didn't feel great about that because it doesn't align with, like how I think about myself. It doesn't align with my goals in life in terms of like, I want muscle. I want to, like, so I can take care of myself and I, have a better life. But at the end of the day, like, I don't like myself less. I'm not going to like berate myself because I didn't do the thing, right? Like that just wouldn't be helpful. That doesn't mean next time I go on vacation, I'm going to then work out, right? Like it's just me being mean for no reason, right? And because that love for myself is not conditional like that anymore, I'm able to kind of hold space and be like, okay, like you were there, you got your set. Like there's a different thought process that goes into it. And I think sometimes people think like, well, if I love myself now, right, like then I won't do anything, right? Because like that's the first thing that comes up. It's like, well, if I like practice self-compassion and if I like where I'm at now, then I'm just gonna like be stuck and I'm gonna like never do anything, right? That is like your podcast being on self-improvement and maybe like stopping trying to self-improve.
Yeah.
Ties into this, right? Because like you can want better for yourself from a place of, hey, I love myself and I deserve better versus wanting to be better because like you can't love yourself until you're better. Because at the end of the day, like you can always be 1% better. And that's going to get hella tiring if, again, when you hit, 100K, then you're like, okay, now 120K, now 130K. Once you hit, your goal body weight, then you're like, okay, well, now I want this and now I want that. It's like exhausting. And I thought about this the other day when I was at the beach. I was like, I've thought about weight loss my entire life. Like this shit is exhausting. Yeah. Like why? It's like the amount of other things I could be doing with the space that like is it like taking up brain space in my mind of like weight loss is like crazy.
Yeah. And I feel like everyone has that something that it's like it is, and that's the biggest thing with the clients we get talking about data fit again is they're like, I just want to not think about this all day. And my first question to that is, okay, if you don't want that, what do you want to think about instead? Or how do you want to spend that bandwidth? And a lot of them are like, I don't even know. Like it's all I've ever thought about.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get it. It sucks.
Yeah. And I would argue that's how some of us fall into the trap of thinking about this all the time because we don't want to think about other things. Yeah. Because we don't want to think about the things, right? Like thinking and focusing on the controllables like nutrition or fitness or whatever takes you away sometimes about thinking about, hey, I'm actually in a really shitty relationship and I should probably leave. Yeah. Or, right, like all the other things that you could be focusing on changing, but it's too difficult. And we always resort back to like, okay, well, weight loss, like my body, right? Like we get the grunt of all of the shit the body does because sometimes we don't want to think about like X, Y, and Z, right? Like we don't want to, again, think about our relationship, think about the fact that we should probably quit our jobs. Like I had a client for a really long time where like we were talking about weight loss and I was like, you hate your job. You need to leave, right? Like this is actually the toxic factor in your life. And I bet you if you left your job 3 months from now, you would look happier, just you would look more alive, energetic, happier. You would probably be sleeping better. Your body would probably change, right? You would just be happy. Like your confidence would change, all these things, right? But quitting the job, finding a new job is just way harder than being like, I need to focus on 10 pounds. Like I need to focus on like eating and like fitness and stuff like that, right? Like and that was a conversation I had to have with myself where I was like, oh, like I was hiding, like when I was like, I want to be skinny. And I was like, why? And it was like, well, like, like then like you like, I for some reason thought like equated skinny because everything I saw online with like someone who travels a lot and someone who makes a lot of money and is in a good relationship and whatever. And I was like, okay, well, if those are the things you actually want, fucking go travel. Like stop being a little baby about it and like go travel. Like, or, like leave your job, start your own thing and like just do it. Right. But like, it was almost my work. I didn't know that that's what I was doing. And so that like, sometimes I don't know, like that's what comes up for me sometimes, is like, oh, what are you hiding weight loss behind? Like what is weight loss like hiding for you? Like, what are you trying to avoid in a way? Because it's a control thing. A lot of the time it's a control thing. It feels like the one thing that we can control, even though kind of jokes on us, like sometimes you can't control like
yeah I mean and that's like really everything, right? It's life is chaos. Life is by definition chaos, and we wouldn't even want it to be otherwise. Like
so
if you
boring.
knew the ending, it would suck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we kind of know the ending. We're not going to be here forever. I don't know what it's going to be like at that point, but like because I think that's where like a pretty big crisis can come in with achieving goals when we go after them in a way it'll make me whole, it'll make me happy, whatever, is that you get there and when you're not there, you're like, oh my God, I would have nothing to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And you get there and it's like, that's a scam. Like you're going to come up with something. Like I think back
still,
to
supermodels get cheated on.
Right.
Other like people like don't get jobs, like opportunities because of the way that like all these things still, like all the things that we think we can avoid or evade by like fun fact, people that weigh 115 pounds still hate their bodies, don't like the way
More
they
so
look.
than anyone.
Like exactly. Sometimes are the unhealthiest people because they've never had to care about weight in their entire life. Therefore, they've always eaten a like shit, and now they have other issues. It's kind of that grass is greener thing in a way, and I think that's also a couple years ago. I was talking to a friend about like midlife crisis, right? And it's like a midlife crisis. A lot of the times is like you hit halfway through your life, you've probably done a lot of the things that like you thought were determinants of success. Like you had the kids, you got married, you got the job, you got the car, whatever. And you hit 50 and you're like, why am I still not happy? Like, what the fuck? Like, and that's a lot of the times what a midlife crisis is like, you're basically shedding all of these ego things that you thought would bring you happiness.
Yeah.
And then if it's not too late, you get to like kind of check yourself and be like, I still have another 50 years. Let me change some of this stuff around, right? And, unfortunately people leave marriages and, they quit their jobs and they start entrepreneurship or they travel the world or they, maybe they didn't get the point and they bought a Maserati, who knows? But like, but that's like a lot of the times is that, that's sometimes what happens when you hit the goal. And I think a lot of people with the weight thing, That's the problem, is they hit the goal and they're like, wait, I'm still not happy. And instead of being like, hey, maybe weight loss isn't the thing, they're like, another 5 pounds. It's going to
Yeah.
be, right? And again, with business, same thing. But when I have like $120,000, I'll know I'll made it and I'll be good. And then they hit it and they're like, okay, like 150, right? Or like whatever. Like,
It's funny. So Herman, all right. So, well, for people listening, Herman will be on at some point, but he also works with us on the data fit side, and he's managing the team. And like, we just had a conversation 2 weeks ago where he's like, let's like bring your roster down 5 to 10 clients to give you more space to manage the team and to and just to get a little personal time back. He's like, I'm
mm-hmm,
good. I'm loving this. I feel like I could maybe get a couple hours in my week back just for life.
mm-hmm.
And so that was 2 weeks ago, I swear. And I hope he hears this. Last night, he's like, yeah, but I just had to take our dog to the vet because she is blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be expensive. So I could use a couple more clients. And then he's like, but can we just do one a week? I'm like, are you serious? Like, I swear, like, didn't we just talk about how you need 10 less than you do right now?
Yeah.
And then he like said something. He's like, yeah, but we've had a couple that are offloading. And then I was like, okay, are you sure even with the community and the team management side? And he just replied, come on, man, I just need a little hit. Like, it's just like, oh, it killed me. But it's just so funny because like it's nonstop. I mean, and I think the biggest thing that tied it together for me is um, just thinking about values.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so maybe that, like, I'm curious your thoughts of like, you said it's a practice, and honestly, you were like, we think it's going to make us happy, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Like, I think happiness. I think people think of, well, first of all, people think of love differently than I think. Like you said, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like our society and culture really highlights you know a certain look of what love is that is very
Mm-hmm.
conditional compared
Mm-hmm.
to true unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
But then also happiness. Like people think, and in my mind, people think, I used to think happiness was like you're happy, you're joyful, you're positive and like excited all the time,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Mm.
just not gonna
Those people are
happen.
so sus. I'm
Right,
kidding.
right. Actually, though, because it is kind of like, and I think I try to like create that in myself, and it's like, yeah, you're no, that's true though. Like, and
Yeah.
yeah, of course, we all are in our own ways, right? But um, that's exhausting. Like the people that are like that, it's to a degree where it's like, all right, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
if yeah,
Yeah, I think, and there's a part of like, hey, how much are you like internalizing? Like sometimes I see those happy people, I'm like, okay, but like when you get, like you're gonna blow up one day. Like I
right,
don't trust you. I think happiness is like it is such an interesting. The goal isn't necessary. You can't be happy all the time, right? And so the goal of just being happy all the time, I think, and maybe this is me, I don't even think this is me being negative about it. Like obviously you'd like to be happy, and I think the goal is almost more like to be able to. Okay, so I'm just like not going to edit myself. So like I think the goal is to be able to almost like hold every emotion without spiraling in a way. Like I think, everyone says like, oh, I just like want to be happier. The goal is to be happy all the time, which then makes it so that like when you're mad, you're like, okay, like I need to stop being mad and I just need to be happy. Or if you're sad, it's like, okay, I just need to stop being sad and I need to be happy, which then creates this like, hey, like there are negative emotions and then there are positive emotions, and like the goal is just to always be freaking positive, which is one so unrealistic. As a human, you have the full range and the whole scope you have since you were an infant, a baby. And they're all meaningful. Like we need them all, right? And I think the goal, at least like my goal, yeah, I would like to be happier more often, sure. But I recognize I'm not going to be happy all the time. And if I can be okay when I'm not happy and not necessarily see it as like a bad thing, or almost like, or also over identify with the moments that I'm not happy, but instead kind of like be able to take a step back and be like, okay, interesting. Like I'm really mad right now. And for a really long time, like anger was not an emotion I allowed myself to feel. Like there's trauma with anger and like all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't get angry. I would just shut down. It was just like not something. And now I like scream into a pillow. I punch a pillow. Like I let myself be mad because being mad means someone crossed a boundary. Being mad means like you did something so out of character for you and you're like upset about it, which is fine, right? It's being able to hold that emotion without then becoming like road rage asshole or like whatever. And the same with like sadness and anxiety. Like when clients come to me, they're like, oh, I'm so sad, like blah blah, all this stuff, and they get down on themselves for being sad. I'm like, you're allowed to be sad. Like, let's talk about it. Like, what are you sad about? Like, because there's so much to learn there, right? And so it's not to like then be so identify so much with sadness that you then become depressed, right? Or identify so much with stress that you then become anxious. Like, but holding these emotions, I call it like compassionate curiosity, to be like, you're allowed to feel this. Where in your body do you feel it, right? How can we not overly identify with it, but instead just like take what it's trying to teach us? Because ultimately the quote unquote negative emotions are trying to tell us that like something's not necessarily something's wrong, but like something's amiss. And then the positive emotions are just showing you like, hey, these are the things that like bring you joy. You're like in the right direction, kind of like a compass, you know? Mm-hmm. And so like trying to be more happy all the time, I don't know, like kind of devalues all of the other emotions that we have that are like amazing. So yeah, I think like if people are like, well, I'm not happy all the time, you're like, you're not like supposed to be.
Yeah. No, I love this. This is really top of mind. I'm reading right now The Language of Emotions.
Okay.
By like Carla McLaren.
I haven't heard of it.
I had grabbed it and then a guest brought it up and I was like, all right, that was on the shelf.
That's the sign I needed.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know, a quarter of the way through. It's all about that, you know?
Yeah.
And oh man, there's so much here. And I think for me, I completely agree. I love what you said a little bit ago. I think happiness, or instead of pursuing constant happiness, however, whatever that means, it's like, I mean, that's a tall task, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like it's an all or nothing thing. It's like, am I happy or am I not, which is
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. And also like some of my clients, you know, that whole self-love conversation, they're like, I don't know what the fuck that means, you know? And I think that in my experience, shifting my attention to how can I fully allow all my emotions is like a very more like practical, clear way to look at that work. And I think doing that kind of leads to more self-love naturally in a
For
way.
sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say like almost like aiming more for like the word that comes to mind is like maybe peace. Like you can be at peace being really sad, right? Like, but like being okay with being sad. Like that's what I think of when I think of like just being more at peace with like everything that happens, right? Yeah. And that's an interesting, I definitely want to read that book. I learned a lot about all this stuff when I was doing a bunch of research for like emotional eating, right? Because like at the end of the day, like we weren't dealing with food, we were dealing with emotions and people not being able to process certain emotions and using food as a coping mechanism. It's like, no, at the end of the day, like we need to learn about our emotions and why we feel certain things and what you're looking for and like what you can do instead, X, Y, and Z. And so same goes with like anger. It's like, how do you, your partner doesn't deserve this outlash of anger, right? Like go into the bedroom, give yourself 15 minutes, like
Mm-hmm.
let it out, figure it out, and then you come back and you discuss it with your partner. Like, right? Like, as opposed to a lot of these like arguments that sometimes we get into and stuff like that, where it's like, I think the better thing to do is to like, and something we're not taught is like emotional regulation. And it goes back to something you mentioned really early on, which is like self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Like taking a step back. I got a comment from someone on Instagram the other day that was like, I really like your page because like the one thing I think I'm learning more than anything is like self-awareness. Like this almost skill that you can practice, and like it's not just something you're necessarily, I mean, you are born with it, you just then, yeah, unfortunately get it like bred out of you basically, but like practicing just noticing, right? Like you said, like you don't even know half the things that you're doing a lot of the time because we're not taking a step back to like notice, to like,
Yeah.
right? Like you can't practice like going into a bedroom when you're angry and upset instead of getting in an argument with your partner if you don't notice you're doing it first. Mm-hmm. Right? Or like you don't pause, right? Same thing with emotional eating, same thing with all of these things. Like that before you do anything, it's, you have to just notice. And sometimes that noticing, like when I was dealing with my like binge eating, like that first step was just noticing like when that trigger was happening, when I was, and then like weeks, months, years, like then you start to do the work. But like first you have to like pattern interrupt by noticing, by like having a pause. And that's like, you know, it's not necessarily an easy skill to just like learn how to do. Yeah. And again, a lot of people, I had a client a really long time ago where I was like, I would love for you to go to therapy. Like, I think it would be very beneficial for you. And she was scared, like scared to go to therapy because scared of like, okay, well, if I'm thinking a lot about like the things that I'm doing or my past or whatever, like, I don't know what's going to come up. And so there's like a fear, I think, a lot of the time, and I'm sure you see this a lot with the work, the mindset work you do, where it's like, okay, I don't want to, like, like right. I'm scared. And I think, for me, it really excites me, uncovering all that stuff, you know, like, I'm like, if I wasn't scared of, you know, vomiting and all that stuff, like, I'm like, take me to those like mushroom retreats where you just purge and then all of a sudden you have all these like I have a fear of losing control in that way, which is why I've never really drank or done drugs, so like it's a blessing and a curse. But yeah, I'm like, okay, teach me like what are my weaknesses, what are the things that I haven't uncovered yet, like all this stuff. But I think that ultimately comes with like, that is self-trust in a way, is like, okay, well, I trust that whatever comes up, like I will handle it. Like it'll be fine. And yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is kind of off to the races the first time it truly clicks that you see it, you experience that, where I was really scared to confront that thing, think about that thing, talk about that thing, share that thing, feel that thing. And I did. And holy shit, I feel so much better after.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh my God, you know, because then it changes your relationship to all of this. Like you said, I definitely was not always there. And now I am. I'm like, ooh, you get like excited to go into something.
Yeah.
Which
and I think that's like the problem though, is like we have gotten really comfortable being comfortable, right? Like we're just with the phones and the computers and the air conditioning and heating and, you know, like clothes and all the, like we just, how many moments of your life do you truly feel uncomfortable? Like kind of none, right? Like the minute we do, we have our phones now, right? The minute we're cold, we have heating. The minute, whatever. So like we've, you know, like the brain is just kind of like conditioned. Well, it's kind of like naturally like this, but like then conditioned even more to be like, oh, uncomfortable, not safe. And then it just makes doing the thing so much harder. And the kind of unfortunate part is that like you just have to do the uncomfortable thing enough times
Yeah.
to then not condition your brain to think that uncomfortable is comfortable, because it never will, but like you get better again at like holding that space of recognizing like, hey, my brain is trying to self-sabotage me by doing X, Y, and Z, and I know it's doing that just because I'm doing this change and this is like hard and it thinks I'm unsafe, but I know I am, so I just have to like do X, Y, and Z to like override that in a way. But like we have this like idea, like it's like people with workouts, right? Like such a prime way. It's like you start lifting weights and you're like, this is really hard. Like I don't think I'm doing it right, or like I don't want to push, and you're like, no, 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 that's the point. You have to, like, it has to be hard. Like you have to push yourself past discomfort, right? Like, and not all the time, and you don't want to kill yourself, but that push, that discomfort is where change happens with literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's either like a trust capacity, like it's either one, not understanding that that's just how you naturally feel and that doesn't equate with not safe, that's just is, or it's that you don't trust yourself to like be able to do it.
Yeah. Well, oh gosh, I love it, because this really makes it apparent that mindfulness is everything. Like that's everything. You're describing, yes, we're literally from the moment we were, and my knowledge here, I'm going to spitball, I don't know what's the correct term. Literally when we're like a 1 or 2 cell freaking
Yeah.
bacteria, it moves away from painful stimuli and moves towards pleasurable stimuli. That is literally how we evolved. And so away from danger towards safety. And it's just this micro thing. And, we have natural, have you heard of muscle testing?
In what capacity?
It's essentially, this is some woo-woo shit, but it's very real.
Huh.
It's essentially like your subconscious. It's a way to test your subconscious moving towards or away from something.
Is this the arm thing?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen this before.
Or like you can do something with your hand, or you can even stand up like on neutral. And if you think of like, my name is Kevin, your body will sway backwards a little bit. And if you're hearing this, you're probably like, what is this hocus pocus shit? I was that way too. But literally,
I love the hocus pocus shit.
Yeah, me too. And it's freaky. And you can't be like, there's obviously some nuance to it, but
right, because you're like,
if you're biased,
go back. Yeah, you have to go into it.
If you're neutral, it's pretty cool. And anyways, that's our whole life, is just or our lower nature, right? Is moving away from moving away from discomfort. And like you said, I noticed this, like it's like 48 or like 52 degrees, and we're going out for a walk, and I'm like, do I need a jacket or not? And it's like, okay, worst case scenario is I'm in a t-shirt and I'm a little chilly for a 30-minute walk, and that's going to like ruin my whole walk. Like that's ridiculous, I
see this also with like the fear of being hungry or the fear of being too full. Like it's like this like, oh my God, I'm getting hungry. And you're like, okay, breathe. You're about to feed yourself.
Yeah.
Breathe. It's like the snacking while you're making dinner because you're hungry. And you're like, what if like you just took a step back and you're like, hey, I'm literally making the food. I'm going to feed you in 15 minutes. Like, you don't need food right now, right? Like little things like that. And I think that's why I've leaned so hard into almost like teaching self-sabotage, like teaching what self-sabotage means, what it feels like, what all this stuff, right? Because I think the more we can almost normalize it, so the more we can normalize, when people are like, oh, my excuse and I'm a bad person, you're like, no, it's actually totally normal and this is what it means. And so the next time it happens, like, right, like the more the more you can take it as like, this doesn't mean that I shouldn't work out because I'm like tired, I'm on the couch. Like that's quite literally your body like not wanting to work out because of XYZ, or like your excuses, there's more to your excuses than you think. It's just about, again, self-awareness, insight, asking the right questions, like really figuring out what that is, and like acknowledging that that's always going to come up.
Yeah.
I make excuses in my head all the time, right? I think just now that I, one, am really rooted in my why, and two, I know that that's my body's way of like not wanting to do the thing because it's uncomfortable, and then it sees it as a threat. I'm like, okay, but you're safe, so let's go do the thing.
Right.
You know?
Right. And like, yeah, I mean, two things there. Like, number one, as you work that mindfulness, if it's with meditation, I use it when I'm training close to failure at the gym. I'm like, I find myself, okay, this is getting uncomfortable, and like practicing being with the discomfort and continuing with my set. And then it's like, it can be anywhere that you are.
Yeah. And you trust that, like, you know, let's say you're squatting and you're like, I'm going to try and push myself past discomfort. Like, if you happen to not be able to go all the way up in the squat, you have the safety brakes. Right? Like, that's like, there's a really good quote that's like, something, I'm going to butcher it, something along the lines of like, a bird doesn't land on a branch expecting it not to break. Like, it lands knowing that like it could fly if the branch breaks.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's self-trust, right? Like, that is just trust in general. And I think, you know, people that like have a lot of faith or believe in God, like have a lot of this, like kind of naturally, but like in something else versus themselves. And the goal is to, you know, you can have your God, your universe, or whatever that might be, but also like building that self-trust, right? Through like small little, you know, doing things that you say you're going to do, right? Like, and those are small things, not like huge things. Or like practicing gratitude, practicing reflecting back and looking at all the things that you have done that like you did get through, right? Like the things that you said with like, hey, you had kids and you didn't give up on yourself, right? Like recognizing those things. Those are all the things that like ultimately build self-trust and confidence, and then allow you to continue to push.
Yeah. 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 I think that's a big one. It's very easy to just naturally go the route of, well, this thing isn't going to happen, so I don't need to worry about it. And making that shift from like, hey, but if that thing does happen, you will be okay, you know? And
you can also prepare for it, right? Like thinking, like, again, self-compassion or thinking the best or whatever, like that, it gives you that peace, but also like it doesn't mean you have to go into everything blindly. Like that's like, you know, one thing with clients is you're like, hey, let's anticipate your obstacles, not to like make you afraid or scare the shit out of you or whatever, but so that like if it happens, one, you have a plan, and two, you're like, okay, like it happened and I was fine, you know? Like I got through it and I had a plan, and, you know, even if that plan doesn't go into according to plan, guess what? A week from now, you're going to look back and be like, well, I got through it. Like,
Yeah, I think that it's a slippery slope, right? The path of not holding yourself to your commitments or what you want to do, right? Like it's each time you don't do it, you're just staring at that evidence. But I think a lot of the times it's that people, they completely dismiss and don't forget. Like it's a double-edged sword. When I do the thing, it's because I was energized and it was easy. When I don't do the thing, oh, you know, you always bail on yourself. You always don't follow through. It's like, so I'm not giving myself credit when I do it, but I'm taking all the responsibility when I don't.
Yeah.
And
that's introspection and self-awareness, right? So like when things go right, great. What made that easier, right? That's what I'm asking my clients all the time. They're like, oh, I got my 3 workouts in a week. Yay. And then you're like, okay, yay, let's keep doing. No, like, hey, let's take a step back. What worked? What was different about this week than the last week? What made it easy for you to show up to your workout? What didn't get in the way, right? That way you're building that like database of like, hey, here are the things that like help me. And then the weeks where things don't go according to plan, you're like, should I get any of my workouts in? instead of being like, well, better luck next time, it's fine, let it go, like don't even worry about it. It's like, no, okay, what got in the way? What happened? X, Y, and Z. Great. Like next time this happens, like what do you feel like would help you get there next time, right? So now you're building a database of like every time I quote unquote fail, which is not a failure, but whatever. Every time I fail, I'm going to learn something. And every time I do something well, I'm also going to learn something. I'm going to learn what works and I'm going to learn what doesn't work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's just, that's what I always tell people that are thinking about a coach. It's like, hey, like, because there's this like, oh, I have to get it perfect.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, like the point, like the reason a coach
if you did, I wouldn't have a job.
Exactly. Exactly. We wouldn't be having this conversation. You also wouldn't need me.
Yeah.
And also, you wouldn't even get anything out of this because you wouldn't have learned to navigate the hard shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
and that's the problem with just like giving out a 12-week program or like just giving out a meal plan. It's like, if that worked, we'd all have six packs and we all like, right?
And we wouldn't
like,
even want them anymore. Like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah. Yeah. It wouldn't even be coveted, right? Like, we wouldn't want it if it was easy. You know,
yeah, we'd find something else that was like unattainable and hard and only celebrities can have, and we'd want that instead.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
how much time do you have?
I have a client in 30. So I technically
30?
have 20
Okay.
plus
Cool.
minutes left.
Where should we go from here? I feel like we've done a lot. Like, oh, actually, I wanted to.
Okay,
go ahead.
I also have a question for you.
Okay, I was gonna say, you mentioned the anger thing.
Yeah.
I've been practicing with that lately with myself. You know, some screams in the car, some hitting the pillow, scream into a pillow or hit a pillow, whatever. Which, by the way, I would have made fun of that 2 years ago. Holy shit. The energy you get after, you feel so light. And then also lately with, so we have a 9-month-old that has like the ability. At one point in my life, I went like 5 years without crying.
I'm not a crier either. It's something I got to work on.
Yeah. So since having her, now
I cry every night.
Yeah, right. Cry myself to sleep every night. No. But like there's a couple songs that just guaranteed cry. And I since making this switch to like viewing that as good, you know, I feel so good after. And like when I feel lately when I've been starting to feel some sadness, I just like lean into it. I'm like, all right, put the crying song on, like joke with Mal, like yeah, I turned on the crying song again. But anyways, I feel like with women in particular, I think this is everybody. However, with women in particular, like you can't be angry. Like don't be angry. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that because even one of our clients last week I was having the conversation with, but it's honestly like most of the women I'm doing mindset coaching with, there's a very big resistance to feeling angry. Yeah. And then this kind of like, that's a tough place to be, you know, just shutting shit down.
Well, anger is a very scary emotion to shut down for a long time. All of them are. But I think, I mean, I would sort of equate like women in anger with men in crying, right? Like I think if you're a man, you don't cry because it's weak, right? And you're like, why? Like it's literally just a somatic release of feeling sad. Like, okay. And then the same thing with anger where it's like for women, you're crazy. Like you're crazy if you get angry, right? Like don't be the crazy woman that's getting mad or whatever. And I think there's almost you can swing hard left and you can swing hard right, where it's like, yeah, you could never cry and then you can cry all the time, right? And there's problems with both, right? Because now like we're talking about an emotional, like almost like the inability to regulate your emotions, right? If you're doing it all, same thing with like anger, right? Where it's like you could feel anger sometimes, you can not allow yourself to feel anger at all, and then you could feel anger all the time where you're just like an angry person, you're taking it out on everyone, you have road rage, you're all this stuff. And so for me with anger, and sometimes I think this might be the way, like I'm not like a psychologist or anything, but for me with anger, it was like I was scared to lose control almost. And I had that a little bit with crying for a while too, where I was like, I'm scared of what will happen if I start, right? Like if I start crying, I don't think I'm going to stop, right? There was a fear of like, well, if I allow myself to get angry, I'm just going to be pissed. Like I'm going to be mad. I'm going to yell. I'm going to whatever. And a lot of that has to do with like what I witnessed growing up, right? Like everything that was happening at home, what I saw like anger like be, that I was like, well, I don't want to be that. So if I don't want to be that, that means I can't be angry, right? And then, but anger, like I said, is a very helpful emotion to have, right? Like acknowledging when you're mad means like you've set boundaries for yourself. You have certain like expectations and values and morals, right? That's all it really is, right? And so, so yeah, I think, I don't know if I'm answering your question there, but I think all of these emotions and all the things that we allow ourselves or don't allow ourselves to do with the stories we have about emotions like crying and about being anger are generally from what you've witnessed, like growing up, what you seem as safe or unsafe, or what you've seen as like the way you want to look or you don't want to look, right? And those, so there's a certain, again, always going back to like self-awareness, being introspective, like getting curious about these things. And then, yeah, I think anger for me, I am in a fairly new relationship, and it's kind of the first time I felt, I've been learning how to be angry, in a safe way, whereas before I just like never was. And it's been an interesting like feeling it and not letting it take over is very hard. Like again, I haven't done this with crying quite yet, but feeling it and not letting it take over is quite hard, right? Because again, anger is kind of can be a scary emotion if it's not regulated, right? Like throwing shit, hitting shit, being mean, right? These are all things that, if you're not regulated, you will end up doing. And so anger for me, when I start to feel it, it's very like a bodily emotion, and I've almost like identified where I feel it in my body, and I'll be like, I need 10 minutes. I need sometimes an hour. And I'll be like, I just can't, because like what I'm going to say and what I'm going to do is not coming from like where I want it to come from. It's coming from anger. And that's not like, that's something that for me at least, like I feel like is something I need to process on my own before I then come to you in a way that's conducive, right? Because like if I come at you like with certain verbiage, then you get defensive, and then I get more angry, and then all this stuff, right? And it's I'm not trying to do that. So like I'm gonna go off, I'm gonna yell into a pillow, I'm gonna journal, I'm gonna literally like go in my car and be like, fuck you, blah, 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 all that, like just let the anger out, and then sit like after that like somatic release, because a lot of it's just like body. Crying is like a somatic release of like sadness, and like yelling is a somatic release of anger, right? Like shaking is a somatic release of like stress and like anxiety. Happiness is like also yelling, but in a completely different concept, right? Like all these like somatic releases. So like I let it somatically release, and then I like sit with like how I'm feeling, and I just talk to myself, right? I'm like, yeah, like that was fucked up that they did that, or they said that, or whatever. Like, yeah, I'm mad, right? Like, and either journaling about it or doing it out loud is has always been very helpful for me. And then I'm like, okay, well, like, what do I want this person to know? They don't need to know all of this. This is me talking to myself, and validating my experience and like really trying to understand and like all this stuff, what do I need that person to know about how this affected me or like why I was angry, right? I don't need them to also be mad. I don't need them to like also feel what I'm feeling or anything like that. I just need them to know how it made me feel and like what they did, and then that's what we're going to talk about. So I think like the felt emotion, again, it's like you have to feel it, whether that's through crying or through yelling or through like your body very naturally is your body very naturally like wants to let go of these really big feelings. It's also, I think, really interesting, like when I think about like babies and stuff, it's like, can you imagine being a baby and feeling anger for the first time and not understanding, like it's a different bodily emotion, like when you're mad, right? Or when you feel hunger, or when you, right? Like, and that's a lot of the times like they're figuring that out without words. It's just like coldness or heat or like wanting to move or shit like that, right? It's very like natural. And so we have language for it, which makes it helpful. But I think your body wants to let it go. And if you don't let it go, it just learns to shut down. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people, is like, they just like, that's what would happen to me. Like if I, like the minute I would start to feel anger, I would just whoop, like fucking blank slate, like couldn't, I was out. And then previous partners would like get upset that I would do that, right? So like in an effort to not be mad and not be crazy or not be whatever, because I didn't know how to regulate that emotion, I had no experience with it, I would just shut down and like not be able to find the words for things. I'd be very like, okay, like whatever, like didn't look like I cared, because like that was like the complete opposite, and that's not helpful at all to me or my partner or the situation.
Yeah, that resonates a lot. Oh my God, I can be anywhere and just dissociate and just blank, shut down.
And people ask you like, what are you thinking? And you're like, nothing. The way I've like equated it to before, it's like, imagine a white piece of paper and like you ask me what I'm thinking and I'm trying to search for like the word or the sentence, but like I keep writing it, like all the words and sentences I'm writing in a big black Sharpie. And I'm like trying to put them all together, whatever. And then all of a sudden the paper is just all black because I've just written in Sharpie everywhere. I like can't pull a thought or a sentence or whatever. And so quite literally my answer is like everything and nothing at the same time. Like I don't have anything for you right now because I'm so dysregulated. I either don't feel safe or I'm not allowing myself to feel a emotion or whatever it is. But like I don't have the capacity to like relay information to you right now. Like,
have you are you familiar with polyvagal theory?
Remind me what, I know concepts, but like words are.
It's basically like, this is super high level, and I have a guy that came on. He's a therapist, and that's his deal. That's his thing. But it basically adds another element to, rest and digest, or like your social, connected, calm, connected, all that. And then fight or flight, anxious, high heart rate, like, or fight, flight, or freeze, right?
Yeah.
But the polyvagal theory adds a third that is called shutdown. And that's basically like what we're talking about. It's like you're kind of revved up, and I'm doing a poor job of explaining it, but you even go beyond that where it's just dissociation, just tired, but like it just, and I mean, even with that, this whole conversation, the self-love thing, like, or love in general, what's really helpful for me when I'm caught up with things and like suffering, if you want to call it that, or, just not in touch with myself, is viewing it as, instead of doing something, relaxing something, because, and then it kind of naturally arises, right? Like,
well, it feels like it's like relaxing whatever, like, wall or like barrier your mind has created because it's like scared.
Yeah. And when you're in that place and you're thinking like, oh, I have to do something, or I have to force myself further, you're already locking yourself down so hard that thinking about like allowing that more connected place to be revealed is like really helpful for me because I mean, even, as you're talking about this, like the emotion side, the things I've been looking into, like they basically describe it as three different avenues. And most people think there's only two. Number one is repress it. Like, ooh, I
Mm-hmm.
can't feel that. Just push it down
Mm-hmm.
or suppress what, basically same thing for this conversation. Or express it, which most people, that's where it's like, ooh, I'm going to project this on
Right.
you.
Right.
Um, and then the third that I've heard people talk about is like transmutation. That's a little more like
Mm.
airy way to say it, but
Yeah.
um, essentially allowing it, just allowing
Yeah.
it without acting on it, right?
Yeah.
And I would honestly like the way you're describing like screaming into a pillow or journaling. I feel like that it's a controlled allowing of the
Mm-hmm.
expression of it, right? And
Yeah.
so, but anyways, I think there's so much there around just it's not valid to feel or think or really be the way you are. Like
Yeah.
that's what's going on and causing like locking down
Yeah.
so much that like I don't know. I think for me on this personal development path there was a time where like you start to get some of these things and you're like, "Ooh, now I'm noticing that like judging other people or getting angry like projecting on other people is showing me somewhere that I'm not free in my own mind." But then it sneakily came and turned into this beating myself up for being angry at someone else or something. And it turned
Mm.
into like a rejection of that part of myself. And so now I'm at
Gotcha.
this place where it's like, hey, no, it's valid. It's
Yeah.
valid. You're okay. But hey, let's be curious around this too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, judging,
yeah,
feeling judgmental or like feeling envy, again, emotions, right? Like
right.
it's telling you areas, if you're judging someone, right? Like it's probably telling you in an area where like you actually secretly want that thing. Like I had that when I would see like people trying to be like influencers on the street or whatever, I'd be like, oh my God, how annoying, like blah, blah, right? But there was secretly a piece of me deep down that was like, yeah, a little annoyed, but like at the end of the day, really what it was like, I like wish I was that like confident or delusional enough to just like go out and not give a shit
Yeah.
what people thought and like had
Yeah.
my phone out and whatever. And I don't know their story. Maybe this is their job. This is how they pay the bills. They have a kid. Like they're really successful. Maybe they're not, but like this is what they want for work and like good for them for trying. Like it kind of always goes back to like how can you not judge yourself for feeling these negative emotions, especially like judgment or envy or jealousy or whatever, and just like be curious about them. And like yeah, I just think the judgment one took me a while as well because I just was like, I'm such a judgy bitch. Like, God, get over it, But then I was like, okay, like, but like, why? Like, this isn't a bad emotion to feel. It's bad if I act on it. It's
Right.
bad if I then am like using it and like making fun of people. But like to feel it necessarily isn't bad. But to like use it against, right? Or like then, walk around just judging doing something bad with it then is bad, but like actually feeling it is not like I can't necessarily help that, but like I can question it and then be like, oh, this is why X, Y, and Z is. And I say this probably like seeming like I have it all figured. Like I feel things all the time that I'm still like annoyed about or like I'm so self-critical and so like my boyfriend would be the first person to be like, you're so mean to yourself all the time. And I'm like, yes, I still struggle with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can know all of these things and like conceptually and like take a step back and all these things, but like, yeah, it's still a work in progress. Like there are a lot of times that I still probably come off as like a judgmental, whatever, or like am really hard on myself. Like it's hard to not, right? Like but it's a work in progress and yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that's kind of came up in my head a few times recently of like this I'm getting to this point where like old patterns will still show up where I'm like looking for another book on self-development, and I'm just like, what are you doing, dude? Like, and it's like this like, what the work is,
Mm-hmm.
and it's this right here. It's
Mm-hmm.
watching me judge myself and other people and staying curious and then allowing whatever that's preventing me from feeling to
Yeah.
come up. And like, I don't know. There's that part that's just like, no, we want like the breakthrough right now. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm saying this as I'm the same way. Like every
Yeah.
day, 99% of my thoughts are just judge me, judge you, like judge everybody. And it's just this constant unfolding and like allow
Yeah.
it, judge, allow. But like I don't know. I feel like it's a good reminder. Like as you were saying that, it was a good reminder for me of just like at some point, I think there's this element like the work is never going to end, and then just also accepting that, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
it.
And that's quite literally what self-compassion is, right? It's
Mm,
like being kind to yourself, recognizing this is like a common human trait. Everyone
yeah,
does it. So like let yourself off the hook a little bit, right? And
yeah,
then it's the mindfulness component of like just being mindful of what you're doing. And like, yeah, you may be really judgmental, but like you aren't a judgmental prick. Like that's not what I
right,
get from you, right? So like, granted, I'm not with you all the time, but like you don't seem like someone that's like being mean. You're very compassionate with your clients and everything like that. So like feeling something and then acting on it are two very different things. And I think the feeling part is so natural and will happen. That's the like that's like the urge, the trigger, and then the like doing part, right? It's like you can't help the initial emotion that you feel. You can't help certain things, right? Like the trigger, right? Like you can't help like that judgmental moment. We all have it. The question is, what do you do with it afterwards? Right? Like that's what ultimately matters, and that is the part that you can control. And you don't come across that way, at least, in our time together. So like that's ultimately what matters. You're always going to like judge. I don't know.
well, isn't it, it is funny to think about like the things were, because that went through my head as you were saying, like I can still maybe come off as a judgmental person, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, well, that's never came across to me. And I think it's funny because I think the things we're most afraid of being seen as
Mm-hmm.
to other people that we're hardest on ourselves for,
Yeah.
in actuality, and I'll never know if this is true or not because we only ever know our own perceptions and etc.
Right.
But a lot of the time, it's like the thing you're so afraid of being is probably something that you should maybe allow to come out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Not like in this case, it's like, no, yeah, go tell somebody what you're judging. But, it's like for me, like as probably a better example, what triggers me most in the past that I get the most annoyed by are very like loud, obnoxious, like confident,
Mm-hmm.
extroverted people. Like
Mm-hmm.
those are the types of people that like in the past it really riles me up, and that's exactly what I go through. I'm like, why do they bother me so much? And it's like, oh, it's because I'm not okay. Like I am fearful of being annoying to people
Mm-hmm.
or things, and I go the complete opposite way. And it's
Yeah.
like the place you're judging might be a place for you to allow outside of the judgmental piece, but it might be a place to allow yourself to feel that in yourself or stop rejecting it in yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
Stop rejecting it in yourself. Like if
yeah,
it is something that you truly want, this is
yeah,
like life just giving you a mirror to be like, is it? Like, do you
yeah,
like, you know?
yeah,
That's ultimately like, what is that? Like they say, like everyone's a mirror, like
right,
in your life, some way or another, good, bad, whatever.
yeah,
And that's just like one of those instances.
yeah. Okay, you all right, we got a few minutes. Did you have a question? Otherwise I can throw a question
Well,
out to finish.
what's really funny is that my question actually like tied, like we kind of got to my question. But something that I've been working on that I think you've been working on as well, because I heard it in a call that you had with a client, was when you were doing your story and all like the negative thoughts that came into your head. Which is why one of the judgmental things came out, because I was like, oh, I know he struggles with this too. But it sounds like you've also kind of been doing a lot of what in the manifestation woo woo world, like we call like shadow work, where it's like really uncovering like the parts of you that you are nervous about other people seeing or you judge yourself for. And I just thought it was really interesting, and there probably could be a much longer conversation about that. But like, you know, what came up for me, which came up for you too, was like the judgment, feeling selfish. Like I'm like, I'm just like, am I? I'm just like a selfish bitch. Like with like, all this stuff, right? Like judgy, selfish, like all these things. And I think, you know, one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to call it out, which we did in this podcast, was like it gives permission for other people. Like I know when you did that with that one client a couple of days ago, she was like, you feel those things too. Whoa, like I didn't know you had that kind of self-talk, or you know. So like I feel like whenever I share mine, same thing, people are like, oh, like I've done it in my workshops a couple times, and I'm just like, here are all the awful nasty things that I say, and it's just like boom 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 boom, and people are like, I we're allowed to, you feel that too, like I'm allowed to just like say it, or like I'm, you know, all this stuff, and you're like, yeah, like absolutely.
Yeah, and and for anyone listening, I'd encourage you to do this. Like one of the mindset exercises I've been doing with clients is name your inner critic and write out everything it says. It's great. If you were on trial, everything it says to you, and then we go through the Enlifted 4-step method, which is reading it out loud and then reading it out loud slower and then reading it out loud slower with some breath in between. And then we do a couple but yes, I have been, and I've seen it every time. I'm glad to get this feedback from you, because I will read mine, which, by the way, the first time I wrote that down, I mean, it's like 4 paragraphs of just the shitstorm that I tell myself in my head about myself. And the first time I read it, I was hot and sweaty, and like this was in a group of like 12 people on Zoom. Like we all shared it. And now, I mean, it's still like kind of hits and is hard, but like now I'm noticing it way more because I got it out of my head and onto a paper. And, but anyways, the clients I've done that exercise with, I've found, and once again, the feedback's helpful. I just read mine first to give them permission and to just not act like I'm some, you know, some person that has a great mindset, you know, like that, like it's still part of my practice. And that has been a really powerful exercise. I mean,
I love that.
Yeah. Sometimes
I love it every time I watch your calls.
Sometimes I'm like, sometimes we even can't even name it because they're so, they're like, well, no, I don't think I have that. But I'm like, okay, what do you say about yourself? What do you think are the worst parts of yourself? Like, as if it's true. Like, if you ask it that way, they're like, they name 15 things. And it's like, oh, so we can't even externalize it yet. Like, we'll get there, but.
Well, because that makes it real, right? Like, saying it out loud makes it real. Journaling about it makes it real. Saying it to you makes it real. That's the hard part. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to end the call with, was like, you know, we've just talked for an hour and a half, and like, sound very educated and all, you know, on all the things. And I just want to end with like, hey, I still struggle with this. Like these are, I'm still working on A, B, and C, and I still have these awful thoughts about myself and all these things, right? Like it is a work in progress. Like I never want, you know, people to kind of like read or listen or watch what I do and be like, she's got it all figured out. And I'm like, no, still human, still figuring it out. And that's part of, I think, what makes us great coaches is like we can empathize and we can like understand like, hey, like there's like no top here. Like there's no like,
oh my God.
There's, you know, you're still in the weeds of it. So
there's the guy Naval Ravikant. He's a huge investor or philosopher, you could call him. Extremely successful and a huge inspiration to a lot of people. And the Almanac of Naval Ravikant is a great book that breaks down his thought processes, but he's very centered business, health, relationships. And like an interview like 2 years ago, this guy's older, you know, they're like asking about his mind. He's like, oh, my mind is a mess. Like, no, that never gets better. I just don't listen to it as much. But no,
same with
my
the
mind,
emotions. They don't
I'm
just
not
go
some
away.
Buddha, right?
You hold the capacity to like just hold them for longer,
Allow
or
it
to
to
get
be
through
there.
them
Yeah.
faster, or like again be more at peace. But it never goes away.
Yeah.
All right, I have to hop off.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
This was fun as always.
Yeah. We'll have to do another. I feel like we could dive way more into a lot more.
Seriously.
All right.
All right. Well, have a good weekend. Enjoy.
Yeah. See ya.